and the angels came upon me.
That's so at the start of the recording. Go
Don't
ahead,
want to
Jen.
go there. I really don't want to go there.
Right?
That's like right up there with
Good
golden folders if you take it the
Good
wrong situation.
morning, everybody. Welcome to the Office 365 polls. Right as Adam hit record, I told a funny joke, made everyone laugh. So don't know if that'll be at the start of the recording or not,
It
but there
will.
we
It
go.
definitely will.
I turned on my lights, brightened up my room. But anyway, we do not have a ton of stuff on the roadmap today, just a few updates. Most of the updates, honestly, have to do a lot with things getting launched into education, things getting launched into GCC, mostly around Microsoft Teams, some different clients there. A lot of it seems to be things that they might have pushed forward in response to COVID. So I think there's a lot of great things out here, a lot of great things in development that again seem to be around that. So I think Microsoft is really heads down in making sure that the cloud is ready and prepared for the extra load that we've put upon it when all of us decided to stop going into the office and starting to work from home. So everything's been running smoothly so far. A few downtimes, but everything's been running great. So I know everybody's kind of getting used to the new normal. So we'll go through the list here. We'll start with in development. I'm going to start out with some easy ones, and that's Outlook for iOS, Outlook for Android, actionable calendar search items. So when you're searching for something, it's going to allow you to do an action. So if I'm searching on a calendar, I find a calendar invite, it's going to let me do obvious things like RSVP directly from there, as well as like when I'm searching for things like visual cues are going to come up to let me go and do things. So basically making Outlook for Android and Outlook for iOS a lot more interactive and making them work better together and making them work easier. So we've got a lot of things in development there. I'm going to just go ahead and talk about canceled right now, because the two things that are in canceled are the same things. They're Outlook for iOS and Outlook for Android. And what happened is there's duplicates in the list. And so we've talked about these before. It was the actionable search items. And so I think they've just divvied it up with search and calendar, search and mail. And then there was one that was just actionable search items. So there's two items in canceled this time, but they're really just duplicates of things that are in development. So nothing to worry about there. So we can kind of count it as a wash. There's nothing really in canceled, but those are some of the things that are coming. So I know that everyone uses Outlook on their phone for either Android or iOS. So those are some extra things that are coming there. And so Tom, I will pass it to you and you can talk about some of the things that are coming there.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to one that is probably the most critical item I've seen on here ever since we've started doing these things. And that is for SharePoint lists, they're now renaming Flow to Automate. This is really going to change the way you do your work here. Yeah, but just, hang in there. This will be for the better once we work through it, folks. We're in it together.
I mean, we're going from 4 characters to 8, so it's a big change.
It's like when they went Twitter from 140 to 280,
But how many questions are you going to have to answer about that?
Oh, yeah,
Probably a lot.
Way too many, actually. Yes.
I'm sure you guys are in the same boat as I am. It doesn't help that half the time I'm talking about it, I still call it flow reflexively. So.
And it's like, well, it's Power Automate, but you're building flows within it.
Yeah,
this is like Microsoft Teams. You've got a team and you've got a workspace. You've got a team site. Like, what team are we talking? I don't know.
Yeah,
so
it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. So,
so we got
another one.
Oh,
Microsoft Teams, we're going to be able to include up to 10,000 users in an individual
one of those team workspaces.
Well, if you think about it, so up to 10,000 users in a team, clearly that's going to be a team where you're going to have moderated channels. So think about it. If I'm in a team with 10,000 users, that's going to be a team where they're possibly pushing information out to me. Maybe some people can post things, others can reply. That's probably not going to be crazy town team. I would hope so. So you're going to have moderation. You're going to have different things like that going on, but there's going to be value in it. Think of it also with classroom teams and different things that are going on there. There's been a lot going on in the team space right now with how people are managing crisis notifications and different things like that. And so I think there's a lot of value in being able to do that and having that in development. But again, I think now that you've got moderation, our play of the week that we talked about in our newsletter that we send to our customers is where moderation is now in GCC, in education, and in GCC High and DoD. Well, that's great because now I can moderate. So if I have a channel of 10,000, I'm not having 10,000 people that can just, shoot the breeze at the water cooler. I can control it. So I think it's, they go hand in hand. So I think that one's okay now that we have the controls.
Sure. Yeah, there's a couple other stuff coming out for Teams too as a whole. One of them actually speaks directly to me with experience with my father over the last couple of weeks. So my parents are not the most technical savvy individuals. And I, as I'm sure many of you guys, have kind of become let's all call Adam for any computer problem. In fact, I actually have my friend's laptop that somehow I'm supposed to fix because it isn't working right now. But anyways,
my sister just texted me a question about Teams, honestly. I've got to text her back.
There's a couple things that they're doing. The one that speaks to me is there's going to be a new experience that they're planning on launching next month throughout Teams of how it works when you join a Teams meeting. And it's kind of funny because when I first read this, my gut reaction was, well, it's so easy. Why are they changing it? And let me paint a picture for you. So my dad needed help installing some software on his computer, but my dad's old, so I didn't want to go to his house because of the coronavirus lockdown and what's going on. So I was like, oh, this will be simple. I'll send him a Teams meeting, take over his computer and do it for him. So right now what the experience is you open up a Teams meeting and you click join, and it pulls up another window and it says, oh, you can join through the web or you can do this with the client. And if you have the client, it then also pops up a window that's like, oh, we're going to launch in the client. Is that okay? And the fact that it was a web page and a separate window that launched up broke my father. He didn't understand what was going on. He thought it was two separate things. He thought his computer was trying to do, it was not a good experience. So they're basically streamlining it where there'll be 3 different options and all of them are available together on the same page. It's not an extra launch. Didn't think that needed to be optimized, but my father proved me wrong. So happy to see some of the stuff that's coming out there. The other thing I'll give a shout out that I thought was cool, they're going to be adding background effects. So some of the other video clients already have this. We have blur your background. So if you want to be silly and make it look like you're on an island or whatever, you can.
So the only people that have this right now are Microsoft. And so this week alone, I have been on meetings where it's a mix of Microsoft people and non-Microsoft people. And the non-Microsoft people that have been on videos have been in meetings like mine or have been with blurred backgrounds like yours. The Microsoft people have turned themselves into potatoes, have been on the Starship Enterprise, have been on the Discovery. One has been in a Halo costume. One has been in, I can't even remember what it is now. One had a cat on his head. Not a real cat, like a fake cat thing. And I was just, I'm so distracted because we can't all play. So it's very weird. And then there is one going around viral about my boss turned themselves into a potato.
Yeah, I saw that.
And couldn't figure out how to get them out of a potato. So they were talking potato.
They did the whole meeting as a potato.
Yeah, so it's just like.
Okay, Adam, when that makes our client, you and I need to talk before we get on the call with her to make sure we can coordinate.
Yeah.
We'll be the testosterone
potatoes and act like nothing is wrong.
There you go. I don't know what's wrong with Jen.
I'm like, I get it, but you're talking to me about transitioning from Skype to business to Teams from the Starship Enterprise. Okay. Wait, is that the right? Did I get it right?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
That was good. That just means they're advanced.
And I'm just like, this is weird.
So there are 2 things that I think actually are going to be cool from the in-development side. I'll hit one really quickly that I just think is good to know. So they're updating the Windows 10 search to be Microsoft search. Yep. And this is a small pet peeve for me. Windows 10 search is effing awful. I don't know if you guys have used it, but you go through and you're type the first 4 characters of a file name and you get no results, and you add 1 more character and you get 30 results, and you're just like, what? So I like the new search going in, and I thought SharePoint Spaces was cool. I'm going to let either of you guys talk about it because that's more of your land, but I like the idea behind it.
Yeah, SharePoint Spaces, I think that was first talked about 2 Ignites ago, I believe, because I remember sitting there looking at it going, and they were talking about quantum computing and all these really high level things. And I'm looking at it going, because while it looks really good for demos, what you'd need to do to make that actually be beneficial for what most people do these days, to me, seemed to be like a really huge leap. So while this may catch on, I think that it's not going to have that immediate, oh, look, we're going to have all these SharePoint sites where you can float through a building and zoom in on certain things. Yeah, that's really cool, but you need a lot of people who have graphical skills and that kind of stuff. That
Yeah, it's going to be the
generally don't have.
Microsoft puts together the really cool looking demo of like, we're a construction company, and then no one else knows how to do anything.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's going to just start out very industry specific.
Yes.
So I think that's all it will be. I think it will be very, very cool in a very industry specific setting. I think
like
what's
construction
really
or something like that.
manufacturing, some different places. There's some places in government. What's great about SharePoint Spaces is that it's going to work with any of the virtual headsets, and you're not tied to a HoloLens or something along those lines. So you're not tied to thousands of dollars of equipment, and then you're also able to reuse SharePoint skills. And so for the places in the industry where it makes a lot of sense, it's going to be an easy jump into that 3D and that virtual world. And so it's going to be a very, very powerful and very short time to development in the scenarios where it makes a lot of sense. In the scenarios where it doesn't make a lot of sense, it's going to be just like Tom said. It's going to be like, what? I can dance around with my golden folders. Like it doesn't necessarily make sense in your scenario. So it's going to be a little bit harder to make that jump. So at this point, it doesn't really work in a lot of industries, but in other industries, it's going to be a great experience in doing that. So I think that's where we'll see it. So I think we'll see it take off in pockets of industry and then keep growing. And then as the industry changes and the world changes, then it will make a lot more sense.
I can see that.
Yeah, and I think for training and for different things and hands-on, and I think it'll be very situational. We'll start to see it.
Yeah.
One more thing that I saw that's going to be kind of cool is Microsoft Forms, specific users for sharing and collaboration. I thought that was neat. So you can just update the way forms are sharing. So you can say for certain users within my organization can edit and post to this form, and then users that can't. So you get more granular control of who can edit and share and fill out forms and different things like that. So that's in development. So I think that's a great one too. Adam, was there anything else in development, or are we moving to rolling out now?
No, I think we can move on. I was going to add shortly, I can completely understand the industry-specific thing you're saying, Jen. I can remember going to Ignite 3 years ago, and they gave a demo of like a home remodeling company and a couple 3D touring remodeling their kitchen. And at the time, I was like, this is so cool. And then like an hour later, I was like, who else would use this? Like besides certain specific applications. So I can see that. But I think we're ready to move on. Are you good with that too, Tom?
Cool. Well, rolling out, one thing I'll put is the shy header for modern SharePoint sites and hub sites.
I love that name.
So,
I love the description on that one. Yeah, shy header.
This one's kind of cool. It just means as you're going through the site and you're scrolling down, your header's going to get a little shy and go into hiding and give you more space to read. They're just making it a better experience for the user, right? Like as you're scrolling down, you're going to maximize your reading space and you're going to get a better experience because you don't need that header because you're scrolling down the page. So I think that's great. That's rolling out. So that's a great one there. So what else do you guys see in rolling out that's a good one that we should talk through?
So they've, for SharePoint admins, modern term store and terms analytics dashboard, it looks as if they're putting a whole lot more organizational framework around being able to work with term stores. Because I know when we're undergoing our migration, our vendor was like, I don't know if you really should use term stores because, that's kind of iffy. It sounds like now they're trying to build that out to make it much more robust to where you actually can put it out there. You can actually use it and you can manage it better than just, how you used to do it in SharePoint 2010, where it's like, good luck with that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that ends up working and how we can use that in our environment.
Well, remember how everything else has happened with these pieces, right? So this is going to be a modernization journey. So this is the first thing. We're starting in the admin center. We're modernizing what the management piece of it looks like. They've started to modernize what the front end looks like in terms of some of the columns. We were just talking about that last week, of some of the columns that you're now getting in this modern library look and feel. And once they can get them to when we're in that modern view, now we're going to start to getting modern features added and different things like that. So I think this is just a journey. So that's what people should remember on this. This is going to be MVPs of these, and then we're going to keep seeing them become better and better and better as we go. So definitely a place to watch this week. How about you, Adam? Do you see anything in rolling out?
There was one thing I thought was kind of interesting that I didn't know there was a demand for. If you use Outlook for the iOS, they're adding week numbers, spelled WEEK. And basically, I guess there was a request for like the weeks of the year to be enumerated. So if you're looking at your calendar now, you're going to start seeing another number appear up there on the week that indicates what week of the year. So if you know you're in February, you'll be seeing weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, stuff like that. And I guess that's something people needed because that's coming to Outlook for iOS.
Yeah, the other thing I think right above that in our list, Outlook on the web, a new editor. And I also saw this on the Message Center thing that came out, is that when you're typing, they're now going to be giving you new, what they call edit capabilities, powered by Microsoft 365. And I think that's part of what they're calling Microsoft Editor, I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But like if you're starting to type something in, it may suggest a phrase to finish that out. It's very similar to like when I'm using Google Mail. Yeah, Gmail, which is what I use personally, where I'll start typing a word and it'll push out the phrase. I'm like, that's actually exactly what I wanted to say, surprisingly. And you just hit tab and boom, that's done. And you're going to be able to turn it on and off. So you don't have to have that constantly popping up with, hey, did you mean this? Hey, did you mean this? A less visual form of Clippy always interjecting everything that you're trying to type. I think that's going to be a cool feature. Like I say, right now it's Outlook on the web. It would be cool if that would actually come to the client too, but I'll take it on the web and see where we go with it. So
awesome. Well, cool. Well, moving into launch, I'll take a couple of them at first for education. I've been spending a lot of time right now in Microsoft Teams for education, so I'll talk through some of those. We've got some new features that have launched to make it easier for teachers necessarily and students. So class avatars and stickers, those are coming up. It kind of sounds a little bit silly, but for teachers and students, that's actually kind of a fun thing. Grade sync and turn-in integration. So those are things that you can record in one platform. They're going to sync across. Make code integration, mobile grading. That's good. So you can grade on the phone with assignments, different things there. Channel moderation. That's also a good one. I can tell you that, just speaking from my kid, I would, if I was my kid's algebra teacher, he's a little bit of a smart aleck. I would not want him to be able to start a chat. I would moderate him out of that, but there we go. So we have that going on there. So you have that. And then there's some other things, just miscellaneous things, focus modes, being able to just see your favorites and kind of see in and get one class at a time and different things like that to just make it easier. So they've put a lot of effort in, I think move them very quickly to the launched phase to be in response to everyone starting to use Teams for education there. So I think those are all great things that have come out. So way to go, Microsoft there. I love the responsiveness that they've had with everything going on there. So how about you guys? What else do you see? I know there's a lot of stuff out here. So what else do you guys see in terms of launched?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we've talked about over the months. So, not to go through every single one. One thing I wanted to bring out is if you're a Microsoft Streams user, you should now be in launched for the feature where you now have recycle bins for your Microsoft Stream videos. So if you delete it, it's not like, ooh, sorry, you didn't mean to do that. You're stuck. It's gone. Now you've got that whole 93-day recycle bin thing going on. And also, they're now allowing you to embed Microsoft Stream videos within PowerPoint, which I think is really good if you're trying to put together a PowerPoint instead of having to embed the whole video in there because you can't necessarily go out and get something from YouTube or whatever. Now you've got the ability to get it from Stream in your environment, which is a good thing. The other thing that I thought was good, let me get back to this one. The Microsoft Teams priority notifications. This was announced last year, and it basically allowed you to say, hey, this message is urgent, it's time sensitive, it's going to continue to ping you every 2 minutes for up to 20 minutes. At the time, I was like, oh, that's going to go over really well. Well, at the time, it was until further notice, you could do this unlimited, not a problem. But finally, they said, okay, you can do this for free. Promotion went from July 2019 through the end of 2019. So now licensed users will be able to send priority notifications according to the terms of their subscription. And then your IT admins will be given information about where you're at. So this is one of those things that you may want to use, but put really tight restrictions on it. You're not going to probably be able to allow just everybody to start marking everything urgent unless you're willing to spend a whole lot of money to have this particular feature. So just keep in mind that is now launched. And if you want to play with it, you can go in and start looking at some of the details in terms of what you can and can't do with that now that it's a paid feature.
Microsoft Teams using a link code for joining a team meeting. Now, for us, we know that's been launched for a while, but not in DoD. So now it is there in DoD, which is a great feature. So that's made it out to the DoD environment. So that's a very exciting feature there. So you can give someone a link, they can come join your team there. You can also embed stream videos in PowerPoint. That one's pretty exciting too, as you're sharing PowerPoints and want to embed videos. That's a great way to do that there. How about you, Adam? Is there anything from the add mini type stuff?
Yeah, so there's a couple things I'm going to call out. It's kind of all over the place, but there's a pretty big list of launch this week. But there's just a couple things that I thought was cool. We've mentioned this in the past, but I think it's worth drawing attention to. Password protected links for OneDrive for Business is kind of a cool feature. That's going to be launching for all environments, or should be launched for all environments. Basically, if you're sharing out an individual file, you can now password protect the link you're sharing out for that file. So say you're sharing something moderately sensitive and you want to make sure that only people that you really know or you really want to are accessing it, you can basically password protect that link that you're giving to people, which is just cool. From the admin side, there were a couple things that I saw that I thought were kind of cool, or at least mentioned calling out. So I'm going to get techie here for a second, so bear with me. Office 365 DLP is actually going to start supporting EDM, which is exact data match. This is basically a sophisticated algorithm that's going together to look for a certain set of stuff. So normally you could look for like credit card data, and that matters. But really, when you're looking at a credit card transaction, what really matters is a credit card number, an expiration date, as well as a name and zip code of the user that's doing it. So you can actually have EDM where it's going through and looking for a combination of things that's going to matter that makes it a much more severe data breach. And so you can actually start using these EDM matching algorithms to go through and look for more serious causes or stuff that you might worry about. So just cool to see it coming out. It's coming off to information protection on Office 365 for all environments. So again, this is just, think of this as a more advanced DLP security feature. And then a couple other things that I just thought were cool that probably need called out. You're going to start seeing the idea when you're going through and looking at Teams and some of the stuff that it can do, you're going to start seeing external access for Office 365 for government, GCC High, and DoD. That's been asked for from a ton of my clients for forever. So it's something that definitely people are going to want and look really excited for. And one that kind of goes hand in hand with that, I know this is one that Jen and Tom probably know needs to be updated, even if they didn't look at it themselves. Previously, when you got invited to a group, which is basically a team as well, because that's what groups power, if you were an external user, you got the same intro email that everyone got when they're invited to a group. And if you're an external user, it doesn't help you out too much. It's like, hey, thanks, here's all the features. So they're basically creating a new custom external user message that they get when you're invited to a group that's more helpful for external users. So instead now, if I invite Tom to a group on, my tenant, he's going to get an email that's catered to him as a guest user that has links to that specific group OneNote, to that specific group's file section, stuff like that. So something that's kind of an artifact that they can go back and reference. True story, being an Office 365 expert and someone that was working with groups a lot early on, when I would get invited to like conferences, like, I was going to speak at Thing X, and they'd, oh, we're going to do this with a group and invite me. There was about a 2% chance that I had the link to get back to that group when I needed it later. And half the time it would be me going to the invite link had expired. So getting a welcome email that's going to have the stuff embedded in it for me to get back there.
Helpful.
Yeah, it's actually going to be a really cool addition.
Cool. Very cool. Tom, anything else from your end?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I saw on here is the web parts. So there's some things in SharePoint web parts that let you do some connections easily. So I know we talked about them probably a couple months ago. They were in development and we had been talking about them. So to see them now having moved over to launched, that's great. So to do some things with list web parts, so you can go out and build those dynamic pages. So that's great. In terms of announcements, they did announce yesterday or late last night that Microsoft Ignite, that was scheduled for September in New Orleans, is now going to be a virtual experience, a digital experience. I don't know what digital versus virtual is, but it's going to be a digital experience.
Fingers, digital.
So
this is cool because New Orleans was going to be a cluster. Let's be real. Like, it was going to be fun, but it was also going to be a cluster. So I like the digital experience.
Yeah, so they're going to have a digital experience for that. And I think those are our big news. And then Microsoft 365, they did update the naming for Office 365 personal plans to Microsoft 365. So everything is now
Which the commercial
Microsoft
had already done.
Yeah, which commercial had done. So now personal has done that. So those are our big updates for this week. And then next week, we will be back with additional updates. So it's been great.
And additional people.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a special guest next week. We shall see. Fingers crossed. Anyway, it was great chatting with you guys this week, and we will see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Stay safe and stay at home.
Yes, stay at home. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.